Hello, so I'm on for a live stream. So for those of you that didn't see the community post thing, was on yesterday. My ulcerative colitis has started playing up a bit again recently, so flaring basically. And what that is, for anybody that doesn't know, if you have ulcerative colitis, it's Crohn's and ulcerative colitis both have a thing where they can start flaring, which is basically where out of nowhere your symptoms start getting worse. And in theory, being on medication, all of that should get it back under control relatively soon. But it's just one of those annoying things that, because it's incurable, it's treatable sort of thing. So last week, my stomach was upset pretty much all last week. And then when I was at work Sunday, they had to send me home just because I was in too much pain and kind of just being too slow to actually work. So the stomach's been shit yesterday. It does feel a bit better today. So I'm hoping I'm past the sort of worst point now. So I've warmed up one of these. So these are like those, like a bit like a hot water bottle, but they're filled like wheat balls, aren't they? You just put them in the microwave. These are actually really good if you've got UC or whatever, because you just put them on your stomach, assuming they're not like so hot they're going to scald you, and it does like relieve the cramps of it. Right, your mother, right, Steve? Yeah, I'm a chocolate muffin and engineer gaming. So yeah, it's past the worst point at least, Steve. But thank you. But yeah, all right, South Wales outdoors. But yeah, it was because all of last week I should have really realised before I did that something was up, but I didn't. I thought like I'd eaten several things in a row that were just upsetting my stomach. A bit better, Flazzy, not super better, but like I said, I've got one of those. I went to the pharmacy today and like I'm now stocked up fully on all the different like control medications I normally use, so that's good. Also bought these sort of things because you can use stuff like this to sort of relieve colitis a bit. Obviously, they're not top end perfect things, but they're better than not having them. John, there should be on Wednesday a video on the gel blaster I've bought, and annoyingly, all right, Thomas. But yeah, annoyingly, I can't show you a gel blaster on a YouTube stream because YouTube will say it's a firearm and give me a strike. But I can show it on a regular video. No, Cheeky, I've got ulcerative colitis. You can't catch that. It's a genetic problem. I'm feeling a bit better, Justin, than I did yesterday. I mean, today's one of those days, at least, where I don't have to keep running to the toilet. So that's much better in a sense. It's not one of those days where, you can sit down for 20 minutes and then go, shit, I need to shit. Like one of those sort of days. All right, today's remit. How is the Wi-Fi? Is it running reliably or badly? But yeah, what was I going to say? So the gel blaster, I'll do a video. I've already made some gel balls up for it because that takes like 6 hours when you put them in the sachet into a water bottle. So I've got that ready for Wednesday. So I'll get the video filmed before Wednesday and up. If you like airsoft type things, you'll like gel blasters. All right, Stug. Yeah, cheers, Craig. Like I said, I'm not back to normal, but it's nowhere near as bad today as it was yesterday. And it was worse this morning than it is now. So I'm assuming like Saturday night, Sunday morning was the point where it was, at its worst. Oh, cool. M10Ms are kind of all right as long as you're not wanting it for anything serious. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know what like a gel blaster is, because this was discussed a lot on Mike Stream, they're kind of like airsoft AEGs or like airsoft guns, except for rather than shooting like a plastic BB, they shoot a heavier, like essentially a gel ball. Although it's essentially like what did we say they were like on the other stream? Like those like kids kind of things. Zorbies, is it? Where you put water on these things and they turn into gel balls. It's like that, but they kind of explode or don't on impact. So it's kind of like somewhere between paintball and airsoft. Now the interesting thing, it's meant to be completely like harmless and stuff like that, although people have like given themselves permanent blindness with it before. So yeah, it'll be quite interesting to do a video on it. I was actually quite surprised watching some videos how far they go. So when I was watching this video that I think it was either an Australian or a New Zealander did, and if it's an Australian, he can't own it anymore because they're classed as firearms there now, which is stupid, and all that. But yeah, what essentially at 30 yards, you'd probably hit a target 1 in every 5 shots. you can get them Flazzy either as replicas or as like completely like Nerf looking guns. Mine's an M4 replica, but it's not quite to the scale of a real M4 because of the fact that obviously it doesn't need all the components and barrel length to it. Like I said, if it wasn't a gun looking thing, I'd show it on the stream right now, but because it's a gun looking thing, I can't because YouTube will just strike me for it. But you'll see it in the video Wednesday. But you can get some, I believe, like the people who are really enthusiastic, like where they are like a 1-1 replica of a gun, you know, just the magazine's a slightly different shape to fit the gel balls. But, you know, if it was the option between paying £90 like the one for mine or paying like £300 for one that's performance-wise the same, which has got a few more metal parts, I wouldn't really bother. Unless it's a gun you'd really like a replica of, where you can't get replica guns. But yeah, for whatever reason, like we were saying before, they don't seem to fall under the UK, you know, realistic imitation firearm thing. What with YouTube stuff? Here's the thing: in Australia, I don't know. In with YouTube though, I don't know if you had a too realistic looking Nerf gun, they consider it a real gun. But yeah, they're over here. Apparently, the only reason they're not under the same rules as airsoft guns is because they're newer than airsoft guns, and the law wasn't updated to say, oh, you can't have that. So yeah, where I'd have to buy a 2-tone airsoft gun from a UK retailer without, you know, a UCARA or whatever. The same retailers can sell you like replica gel soft guns or gel blasters, whatever you want to call them, without those rules attached because, you know, bureaucracy and all that stupid shit. So yeah, I'll do the video on it Wednesday. No, I've not seen that channel, South Wales Outdoors. I thought you were going to say it was a channel where people bungee jump and die, to start with. But that sounds good. But yeah, it's good, isn't it, the states where you can crossbow hunt and stuff like that, you know, as long as you follow all the sensible rules. That really doesn't surprise me, sadly, Thomas, but yeah, literally with YouTube's firearm policy rules, especially with streams, it's literally anything vaguely gun-like being held on a stream can get you a strike because you're like imminently going to shoot up a school or something, I guess. And have some of you heard, I'll have to be very careful what I mention on here, but loads of YouTubers getting strikes at the moment for talking about a historical event. Yeah, they threatened us as well, Flazzy. But yeah, they're always a useful thing to have, Geiger counters. But yeah, it's a bit worrying, isn't it, when a country expanding its nuclear arsenal is currently threatening to nuke people. Like, even the Soviets and Americans were a bit more under the table with how they talked about using nuclear bombs. But yeah. Right, South Wales, yeah. But yeah, Stealth Camp, you're right. But hello to everybody coming on. But yeah, so I'm trying to think what I was going to say about the gel soft guns, but they're cool. So the one I bought, you've got like the replica gun. It came with, I think, like 5 or 6 500 round sachets, so you get like several thousand shots for it. Because the good thing with gel stuff is the ammo is super cheap, because it's just like these little things you put into water, like the Zorbies, to expand them. So they give you like a plastic bottle to fill up the water, and then you pour a sachet into that. You leave it, you know, like a few hours with the cap on, and then you just pour out the water, and you've got your ammo ready, you know, for a few magazines full. And then it uses a 7.7 volt lithium battery that plugs in the stock. So you know you can't see the battery when it's in use, but it's in the telescopic stock. But yeah, the bots don't care; they Skynet you anyway. Hello to you in Slovakia. Yeah, better today, Joshua. Although you see, I've got this on at the moment, and I've also been to the pharmacy and stocked up on loads of stuff that I can take. That's a shame, Lewis. But yeah, a lot of stuff like that can get big bid sniped as well, can't it? Where somebody sees it and gets some sort of program or script to bid at like the very last second faster than a human could with whatever their total bid is. But yeah, there was an event in America we're coming up to the anniversary of, where many people were killed and aeroplanes flew into buildings, but you're not allowed to currently talk about that or show pictures from it, or your channel gets a strike for supporting terrorism. I wish I was making this up, but I'm not. What was that, your mother? You probably heard about the Raven R500, Raven R18 crossbows. Let me look them up, but I haven't actually really heard about these, or like not properly. So 500 feet per second crossbow, that's pretty crazy. So are they not being released now? That's a shame. Or is it just going to be like a very limited release? I've seen ones like that before with the backwards prod, because the backwards prod gives you like more velocity, doesn't it? That looks cool, but again, I wonder how fast the parts would wear down with that sort of, feet per second sort of velocity on it. Don't get me wrong, it does look very cool. I do like the look of it. It's just, yeah, I could maybe understand why some countries wouldn't want crossbows that powerful. Yes, I mean the emergency phone number for the Americans, Fuzzy, yes. That sounds good, cheeky antic, because I don't think I've ever been to that. But, yeah, so depends what the filter is that's expired. If you have a filter that's perfectly safe when it's brand new, and it's expired just because it's out of date, with something like that, it's not really going to pose any sort of health risk to you whatsoever, but how well it's going to protect you from stuff, is very on the table. So worst case scenario is, if you've got an expired filter, is you use it in a situation where there's a deadly gas and you die because the expired filter didn't stop the gas. That's the worst case scenario. What's a much worse case scenario normally, is basically you buy some really dodgy old expired filter, and as you breathe through it when doing nothing, the contents of the filter start lining your lungs. No, Richard, let me Google it now, or if I have, I just can't remember at the moment. And that looks pretty similar to the one your mother was on about. That actually looks quite good, because I like how compact the limbs look on that. So it's compound, is it? It's just that the compound is done in like quite a compact way. But yeah, that looks interesting. What sort of velocity does it get? And also there's some coming up called the Mantis, which are just pistol crossbows. And there's others coming up that look like really interesting compounds. But yeah, that does look interesting, I should say. That uses a gas trap. That's very interesting then. Let me search that one as well, Craig. Limbless crossbow. No, I've not seen that one at all. That is very interesting. Does that have like a winch sort of thing to cock it then? I mean, at that point, is it really a crossbow though? Because it's not got the cross, has it? And in some ways, it's not really a bow. It's just a string. Is a string under tension shooting an arrow. But yeah, some of those designs are really interesting. But again, at what point do they not? Are they crossbows anymore? If lots of the systems using them aren't, a cross-shaped bow. Yeah, exactly, Fuzzy. More like a harpoon gun. Yeah, because if you had that exact same system with elastic system, you'd call it an elasticated harpoon, wouldn't you? Really? I will at some point, PDRM82D, and good name by the way. I will definitely do more X-ray tests on Geiger counters because they're quite easy and safe to do as long as nobody else is going to be around the house. The only issue is, I'm definitely going to be doing some tests with that when my thing that Radius Scan is sending me coming, like not a 701A, like Radius Scan's current top end thing that I don't think they even have a sale page for yet, but obviously I'll be doing a video on it when I get mine. And I've got some other things that I, want to test with it. It's just, getting around to it. I'm better today, Roger, than I was yesterday, thanks. Sadly, John, you're basically not going to, as far as I'm aware, because as far as I'm aware, the Czech Republic or Slovakia, neither of those countries use the M10 anymore. The US doesn't use the M17 anymore. I don't think Bulgaria uses the PDE1 or whatever their cheek filter mask was called. I don't think Poland uses the MP4 or MP4B anymore, unless it's used just like by police in tear gas situation sort of things for any of those countries. But for that reason, basically, every country that made the sort of M17 style cheek filter masks, I don't think makes filters for them anymore. So unless you wanted to somehow adapt the mask to put new filters in it, I mean, saying that, there's probably a lot of, if you buy a sealed up cheek filter set, you can still get fairly good condition sealed filters with it, or find them on eBay, but they're not going to be new anymore. But yeah, that's part of the problem with cheek filters, is they are a totally obsolete design unless a nation brings out a new design of that type. So the good thing, obviously, with 40mm filters, either in like GOST or NATO, but specifically NATO, is that lots of countries still produce them because it's just a good design filter. So you've got lots of interchangeability there. It's not like you have a specific filter for a specific mask, and then as soon as that mask goes out of service, there's not going to be filters made for it anymore. Because that's the problem you also run into with really old gas masks, that they generally made very specialized filters for each mask. Like how you can't see it up there, but I've got a British like, see how like you've got the old Warsaw Pact EO14 filters over there. It's a bit like that, where the British ones used to have like a box respirator filter, but it was actually held on via wire. So in the factory they'd assemble them. So again, you can change the filters on there, but you'll be going to a lot of effort. All right, Peach. But yeah, I would be definitely interested, though, saying about the Geiger counters or like ion chambers and X-rays, on doing a test of like military Geiger counters, like actual Geiger counters, not the ion chambers. Which ones respond to X-rays the best? So we could do a PDR M82, and they don't behave specifically well against X-rays. I've said that before, but some people might want to actually see what it does on the video when I show that. And then I could do like the DP5s and all that, just comparing a few different nations' Geiger counters. Because that is kind of the interesting thing, is some Geiger counters just overload really easily, and some are designed for high level of gamma or X-rays, but they're not very sensitive to it. So there's lots of them that they miss, so you get a false low reading. Yeah, Flazzy's already answered you. Yeah, Peach, I don't know if you saw what I said on here or Twitter the other day, but yeah, you had an alright day at work. But yeah, I got sent home ill from work yesterday because I've got my fucking colitis flaring at the moment. So all of last week, I literally thought I'd just been like bad every day in a row, where everything I chose to eat had obviously either gone out of date, spoiled, or was upsetting my stomach or whatever. Or it was like too spicy for me or whatever, and then it's clearly just my colitis is flaring up, because at the moment the only way I can not be in agonizing like stomach pain, as well as like doing all the medications and that, is to just literally eat as the equivalent of cereal all day, and then be careful to eat little and often, not like big meals. So yeah, but at least it is feeling better today than it was yesterday. Like yesterday was one of those days where, for people who have probably experienced some sort of horrible stomach thing like this, where you're on the toilet wishing you had a gun to shoot yourself in the head while you're actually like trying to not pass out on the toilet, that sort of thing. No, slow mode is not being turned off. But seeing as you have an insulting username to other people in the chat, you can fuck off. Let me actually put that down, Gandhi. So keto diet. Let's get some examples up, because I've definitely like kept food diaries and things. But yeah, it would certainly be worth trying like different diets just to see if they're any good. So keto diet is berries, fruit, vegetables, seeds, nuts, dairy products, meat, fish, eggs. So I guess it's like not processed foods, is it then? So not starchy foods, not processed foods. I know eggs can set my colitis off, though, so I'd have to knock eggs off of one of those. I'm sure some vegetables, though, can cause me issues as well. So it's a good thought, but I have a weird feeling my, like, because I mean, obviously, colitis itself is not diet related directly. Because obviously, ulcerative colitis is caused by an immune system defect. Yeah, it does the exact same thing, Iron Man. So obviously, ulcerative colitis is ulcers in your colon. That's why it gets its name. But yes, when it's flaring up, you'll get like a lot of swelling, bloating, like internal bleeding, that sort of thing. But now with soup, I really like carrot and coriander soup, but that can upset my stomach. Now Oliver, I was talking to Mike about that last week. I'm pretty certain, like with beers and that, I'm absolutely fine. I think, though, if I'm drinking spirits that are easily over 40%, like overproof spirits, I think that can, hurt the lining of my stomach. Yeah, but yeah, see anybody gets off. But yeah, the thing is with colitis is there's definitely a diet aspect to it, but it's not related to diet, if that makes sense. So you can't cure it with a diet, as far as I'm aware. Like, there's no known cure for it. All you can do is, like I said before, the stuff that I have to take daily as a minimum is this stuff. And this is like a sachet of, something that interacts with your guts. But, some people have to go on steroids for it. Some people have to have their colon cut out eventually if it's going to kill them otherwise. Stoma bag, that sort of thing. I was talking to my pharmacist today because he's actually quite knowledgeable on it. And he was talking to me about what the NHS is currently trialling. Yeah, that could certainly help, Gandhi. But what's annoying about the term anti-inflammatory is, you get non-steroid anti-inflammatory painkillers. Those make colitis worse. So the word anti-inflammatory can actually sometimes be a bit of a misnomer, those sort of things. But yeah, so what was I say? There's a thing the NHS are trialing, because I was reading about it, and he actually had a lot more details about it. But the annoying thing is, I'll talk to them anyway about it when I have my annual sort of review for it. But the annoying thing is, apparently, if you can manage to keep your colitis in control with like medication like I'm on, even if you get flaring and like you're constantly in pain from it to various degrees, that's not good enough to put you onto this new medicine. But this new medicine is really interesting. It's something where they use your DNA in it, he was saying. So when it goes back into your body's immune system, doesn't react to it. It's really interesting, but sadly, I don't think I'm ill enough to warrant having it. But it sounds good for the people who have the choice between like that or having their colon cut out. Then obviously it's a much better choice. But it could be GZs, because this is the problem, right? So when I spoke to one of the consultants I have to see at the hospital regarding the colitis, they think I've probably developed, what's the one called where you just don't like certain things and it upsets your stomach? It's not inflammatory bowel disease, because that's what ulcerative colitis is, IBD. It's irritable bowel syndrome, isn't it? Irritable bowel. And they think I've probably developed that because of the colitis, as well as having the colitis. So the reason that's annoying is it means quite often, like I was saying, like this week, I can't tell early on if if I'm getting a flare-up coming along, or if it's just bad luck with my stomach deciding, oh no, I can't handle processing this properly. Wow, I wouldn't ask my GP. Here's the thing, PDRM82. The best thing for me to ask, because this is what my the pharmacist was saying, he knows a lot more about it weirdly than my GP, is that the best person to ask about any of this is when I go see like annually a consultant at the hospital, because they're the people that literally deal with colitis and Crohn's, and that is like the only two diseases they deal with. The problem with GPs is because they're a jack of all trade thing. The issue I've run into before, I go for my annual hospital appointment, and the consultant comes up with a list of drugs I should be trialed on, saying, I reckon these will work better than what you're currently on, so you'll need to be taking less medication or less side effects. And he says, like, I'll write you up a list. When you next see the GP, discuss it with him, and then decide which one you're going to start on. I asked my GP and he goes, oh, no, your current medicine's all right. You don't need to change it. So, like, I'm not saying that against my GP, because obviously they have to be knowledgeable about lots of medicines for lots of conditions. But the problem is the pharmacist was saying, is that, if you see your consultant and they recommend something, get them to write you out a prescription on that day rather than running it through your GP only to be told, like, no, we're not going to try it. Yeah, horseflies are horrible, aren't they? And yeah, spiders. AK said stomach pain's the worst. Went to Hawaii one year and ate sushi one day and was probably had bad fish since for the next 2 weeks. I felt like I was shitting my whole digestion. Yeah, to give you an idea, if you've ever had like proper food poisoning, not to the extent that you need to go into for emergency treatment at hospital, but like you're stuck on the toilet, with vomiting and shitting and all that sort of stuff. That's pretty similar to what a UC flare is like if it's particularly bad. I don't want this whole stream to turn into a disgusting body horror stream. But I think the problem is that a lot of people, when you talk to them about ulcerative colitis, they literally assume it's like, oh, you get a tummy ache now and again. It's like, no, it's a lot worse than that. It's something that will eventually kill you if you don't have medicine for it. Because it essentially is your your body's antibodies destroying your body because something's gone seriously wrong somewhere. You mean the ideal thing was like there'd be some sort of implant, wouldn't it, where they could implant you with something that tells your body to stop killing itself. But unfortunately, that's a bit beyond science at the moment. Oh, what's this I've missed between people talking? Oh, well, you're on about like insects and things. The one I hate are midges or whatever they are, like mini mosquitoes, because they're harder to swat than mosquitoes. I mean, obviously, if you're in a country where you get genuine things like malaria, um, the masks are not to be cummed on, Jesus Deuce. We've gone over this in this chat a lot of times. The thing is, if they know me, they'll know about my YouTube stuff before coming here, won't they? That's the thing. Because most of them have already looked me up online, doing that pervy thing, but I don't mind. But yeah, like with insect, yeah, horseflies are the things at the moment. Horseflies, gnats, and those sort of things. Like obviously, yeah, like I said, if you're in a country where you get stuff like malaria, obviously mosquitoes jump to the top of like what's annoying. But here, it's like just those annoying little biting bastards that just fly around. I literally have just been saying WK all stream, ulcerative colitis, unless you don't have that. Because if you've got Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, it's literally that. Because you've got an autoimmune disease and you're bleeding from the inside. That's why. But if you're a random person and you're saying that, like, why have I got these symptoms, I'd say go to your doctor immediately. Because, if you're a normally healthy person, all of a sudden you've got blood coming out in your shit, it might mean you've got colon cancer, and you don't wait around. If you've got any potential cancer symptoms, you don't say, oh, wait around. You make sure you pester the, like whatever health service in your country to get you checked out for it. Because that was how Total Biscuit died, wasn't it? That he kept putting off, like, going to the doctor about having blood in his shit. And then when he eventually went, it's like, oh, you've got colon cancer and you're terminal now, bye. That's basically what happens if you leave cancers too long. If you have some sort of horrifying blood somewhere it shouldn't be coming out of, you see a doctor about it, because at least then you might find out it's something not as bad as a cancer. Yeah, Rich. I'm trying to think what that would be now, like the 10 Commandments involving surplus. Yeah, well, if that went on for more than one day, WK, I would definitely have seen a doctor about that. If it was a one-off, it could just literally be something really wrong with the food. Oh, that's the thing, Justin, isn't it? As much as there's all the health problems of smoking potentially, when I used to smoke, my colitis was a lot less bothersome than it was since giving up. I've never watched it, Deadstock. So no, I don't know what that is. The only thing when people say Osprey, I know is like the Osprey Mark IV armor, or the Osprey helicopter, or whatever it is. I know it's a bird originally. That's where the name comes from. But since I was about 20, Kevin, you don't develop UC until generally, I think, your late teenagers, early 20s. If you get past that, you're apparently all right. But that's the age at when the body will randomly just kind of 404 error not found, I guess. Does Crohn's show up earlier than that? I can't remember, but there are conditions like that if you don't get them by a certain age, you're probably all clear. So it's just a roll of the dice, you know. Yeah, Oliver, that's the thing. With me, I'm been lucky in the sense that I've never had to have a stoma considered, except when it was first diagnosed and I was put on really heavy drugs for it. And again, the reason I was put on really heavy drugs was my GP decided, it wouldn't be worth me going in for hospital for scans until, probably too late. This is just turning into a disgusting medical stream now. But if it actually helps people go and get diagnosed with something that might cause them harm, I suppose that's a good thing. But you're saying about that, Justin Vapor, you can get insect incense type stuff you can carry around outside of you. Can't you? That is good at getting insects away. Yeah, I know somebody, Chunky Monkey, saying that with a similar sort of thing, but it's something that comes along later in life, but one of those autoimmune things where the body attacks the muscles or something, and then they get aches all the time. I haven't heard them dead stock. I will have a look at some point, yeah. But yeah, for the people who don't know, the problem of having a 4K screen and without increasing the size of the chat, look at how small those chat messages are. I know it's doing the screen over and over and over again thing, but yeah, that's how small the chat messages look. The reason is the chat's still set at 100%, because the annoying thing is lots of games on Windows break if you set the chat over 100% scale. So I think 4K is recommended 200 to 250%. I found 150% was actually more than, not looking like an AMPS picture. But yeah, it's annoying because unless you want to constantly change it off and on when you're using the browser compared to playing games, you have to keep it 100%, or the game's often just the scaling breaks on the screen. That sounds like the doc is being a bit of a cunt there, Gandhi, because I'm pretty sure with something like Crohn's, it's an internal DNA issue, isn't it? I wish I was getting YouTube recommended a Cool World War One stuff. My YouTube recommended's gone to shit again, where it's recommending me stuff I don't have any interest in watching. I can't remember what it was recently, but there was one video I watched on a certain game to see if I find it interesting. I thought, no, this game looks a bit crap, and then YouTube decides, oh, don't you want every single video in your inbox to be about this game, plus several of the same videos turning up on the same page, the same channel, same video. It's if I didn't want to watch it the first time you showed it, why would I then want to watch it another page down? But yeah, the thing to learn is the human body, like lots of things, is a complete dice roll on how fucked you're going to be. And you can have factors that you can't affect yourself, like how old your parents were when they gave birth, I guess, stuff like that. How healthy the parents were, did they smoke when you were when your mum was pregnant, that sort of stuff. But you don't have any say on that, and then you have to just hope that you're not going to get a genetic fuck up. Oh yeah, kids react to Flazzy. I haven't seen that proper kids react to channel that I know is quite famous in ages, but I have seen loads of stupid reaction videos. The ones they show me a lot is Americans react to. Oh my god, I had no idea British people did this. Why would I want to watch that some American is ignorant or feigning ignorance of something that goes on over here? 2 months ago, at least you knew it was a parody. I've had people complain seriously about that, saying you're an idiot if you're suddenly some woke anti-mask, idiot sort of person. It's like, so the title parody is in the video. It's clearly a parody, and there are people thinking I seriously think masks kill people. But yes, there's but yeah, well, yeah, well, let me have a look and tell you what's on my current YouTube recommended. Right, the top load of videos, like actual ones from channels I'm subscribed to, so that's not very interesting because it's stuff I'd actually be interested in, if that makes sense. Human music. Okay, it's like an anime girl picture. Somebody reviewing a series I've never heard of. Yeah, I won't watch that. Hilarious, inaccurate medieval art of animals. A video about cows. It's not as bad as it has been, but a lot of it is just very random at the moment, like a mix of news stories, and lots of other stuff. Yeah, I just want to go back to playing Fallout 2 when I finish this stream. Aussie Man Reviews. Okay, Gandhi, let me search that now. So if I like that channel, it'll at least not, have a broken thing for it. It's not as bad today as it has been, Aussie Man Reviews. So is this Aussie Man Reviews Extreme Sports, Aussie Man Reviews Old Gymnastics? Is that the channel? Snake versus Mice. 4.92 million subscribers. Right, I've got his channel open on the tab, so I can at least watch a couple of these later if you say it's funny, and then hopefully that will like you said, put YouTube showing me stuff I actually want to see for a while, not like, oh, you maybe clicked on a video once or left autoplay on, and now we've decided you want to see hundreds of like some sort of meme compilations. All right, cheers, Gandhi's flip-flops. I was going to say, Rich, I don't know if I know if you say you are on a YouTube or what's the other one called, Odyssey stream. I know you'd be talking about them. Craig, I don't know if it's so much a new mask, but again, it's one of those things where I won't say too much about it until I get it in case it all falls through. But there's an interesting Chinese mask I'd never seen before. I mean, like a high-end Chinese mask as opposed to made in slave factory number, whatever Uyghur camp, of awful quality kind of mask. I mean, like one of their actual really high-end ones. Oh yeah, the British Pathé news archives are great, aren't they? Some of like the World War II and like Cold War stuff they've got in there. Yeah, I haven't played that, but yeah, I finished Fallout 1. I think that was Sunday when I was ill. I finished Fallout 1. Actually, saying that, I'm trying to remember. Was it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was after I came home from work. In between running to the shitter, I was just playing Fallout 1, and then I finished it. And then I made a new character, and I'm already like 3/4 of the way through the game. Just because once you know where everything is, it makes it much faster to play. I could probably do one this week, Flazzy, actually, because I'll be. Was I actually running randomizer on that big GPU? I must have been, yeah. But yeah, we'll be running that. But yeah, it will crash a lot, so I don't want to do it like every day of the week. But yeah, I'll do one this week for sure. Yeah, so it's the same type of people, I guess, Rich, but it wasn't who we were thinking of, because you're immediately making me just think. Oh, I went on the stream the other day and it was just like, yeah, the British people can't have that. They have the underground tunnels. What's the other game that's got a randomizer? Were you saying Dark Souls has a randomizer, Rich? If so, I might try that because it will be probably make the game completely impossible. Dark Souls randomizer. So shuffles the location of in-game treasures, including vendor inventories, NPC gifts, NPC drop table, boss drops, cheats, and corpse items, and more. I'd probably play that just for seeing how broken it is. Although, again, if it's a game that's like hard like Dark Souls, could that potentially make it easier though? Because that's the thing I find with lots of these randomizers. If something's hard, it gets easier. If it's easy, it gets hard. If it's any good, PDRM82, sure, but there's lots of stuff like this where I don't get my hopes up for stuff like that. But yeah, at the moment, I'm just playing through Fallout 2 now. Because although Fallout 2 doesn't run as well as Fallout 1 for some reason, I can't work out why. It might just be that Fallout Fixed runs Fallout 1 better than the Fallout 2. Like, restoration mod, whatever it's called, runs it. Like, as in just the frame rate tanks in places. Or I'm assuming, though, it's because it's for when screens didn't have 60 hertz refresh rate as standard. But why does Fallout 1 run alright? Right, so here's a question. Are there any, like, really old hardcore Fallout fans on here? As in Fallout 1 and 2? Just because I've got a question now about game specifics. It's not a spoiler thing, it's just... Because if so, why is it that the movement speed and the way the time passes on the Fallout 2 map is so slow compared to Fallout 1? Because it seems to me like it's like almost like the frame rate's tanking. Because like the actual time of day moves like that, where it's like moving the game 20 minutes at a time as opposed to just, like putting time on turbo and you're moving really fast. Oh, Mr. Foger, if you didn't see yesterday, my ulcerative colitis has been flaring up at the minute, which means that I've just felt like shit. But I'm feeling better this evening than I did like this morning or yesterday, especially yesterday afternoon, sort of morning. That was when it was its worst. But other than that, I'm alright, I guess. But I've not been saying I wanted to get a video out Friday and then didn't because I'd been a bit under the weather last week. And then that's what it was in the end, ulcerative colitis. I didn't know at the time. But there should at least be a video out Wednesday. And it'll be of a gun type video, so it's what will interest people, maybe. Yeah, I like Dark Souls 3 2-man sound, but yeah, I just like at the moment playing old school RPGs. Is he still hungover, Flazzy? Because Saturday night he was drinking, wasn't he? So it might be that he's just at the moment, hungover and achy. Because I know when Mike drinks, he likes to drink a lot. No, I don't think the Russians have sprayed me with anything. But yeah, it's just, like I said, if you've got chronic conditions, they can sometimes be all right, sometimes not be. And annoyingly, it's just been like last week, it's been flaring up. Yeah, Oliver, right. So, horrible bit of detail, but this is something that's useful if you've got colitis to know. The worst pain I've ever had with colitis sort of stuff, assuming that it's not, like your colitis is deteriorating to the point that you need a stoma, but, just in terms of, like, the way I can cause myself the most stomach pain pretty easily is if you eat stuff at the same time that both constipates you and has a laxative effect. Because what it does is, diarrhea pain you get if you have too much of something that's like a laxative effect, like you were saying. Imagine that, but you can't even pass the diarrhea because something is blocking the diarrhea in. it's disgusting to think about. That's the worst pain, because you can't even go until the pressure gets high enough. All right, Rich, cheers. I must have missed that one, but yeah, thank you. So yeah, it would be like having a blocked tunnel, and then having, and then the pressure has to get so high for it to move that, yeah, that's the worst stomach pain I've had. But at that point, your stomach will literally be bloated like that, because of, like how badly it's like, backing everything up. That's how toxic megacolon happens, isn't it? If you literally have a blocked stomach like that, and it can't pass within a certain time frame. That's what killed Elvis. But the reason he got toxic megacolon was taking too much dope. Because if you take too much dope, then you will stop your colon processing anything. Is that the bright orange one, Mr. Foger? With like the big valves on the head bit of it? Yeah, Fluzzy, that's where you have to be really careful with like the rations. Like, thankfully, all the MREs I've got don't seem to have much effect, or if they do, you'd have to eat loads of them in a row. But yeah, there's certainly a problem with some MREs, isn't there? Where if everything in your MRE pack is kind of like got some anti-diarrhea stuff in it, you are going to run into some sort of serious trouble with that if you have to rely on that food for too long. Again, I think it's a bit like the rabbit starvation thing, where lots of people don't think too much about the more subtle effects certain foods have on the bodies, like too much protein or whatever else, where it just breaks, how your body's meant to process food, because, balanced diet. But yeah, I would certainly agree with Oliver saying about the horrible artificial sweeteners. Is as bad as sugar is for you, artificial sweeteners are probably worse, I would say anyway. I'm afraid I don't know much about it. As you said, submarine escape suit, it's probably designed to completely protect the wearer from the outside waters, trap the heat in, and, give them some sort of rebreather system so they can make it to the surface without moving too quickly and getting the bends. That would be my assumption anyway. Because obviously, the problem is if you're in a submarine, even assuming you can survive the water pressure outside, if you essentially like opened a torpedo hatch and went out, the issue is that you can't go from really deep water to the surface without getting like horrible bends, decompression syndrome, whatever they call it. There's a technical name for it, but the bends is the common name they give it, where, like the gas in your system fucks up. That's the way that if you are too quickly decompressed, you can explode as well. I don't think you can explode from going like below to up high. It just poisons you like that, fatally poisons you, but due to like gases in the blood. But if you look up the Buford Dolphin like diving bell accident, that was where people blew up from a decompression chamber. Yeah, that's it. Rich nitrogen in the blood. Yeah, bubbles. Yeah. But yes, I would assume a submarine escape suit is basically designed to protect the wearer, to let them get to the breathable air, by breaching the water as slowly as possible. That's an interesting point, Daniel. I hadn't even thought about that. But as far as I am aware, though, the submarine escape suits seem to be designed. But yeah, you're making the point, aren't you? That yeah, if the submarine pressure is the same as the surface pressure, actually inside, that yeah, it's less of a problem than if you're actually diving down yourself and the pressure's changing. But yeah, that's a good point, Daniel. I hadn't even thought about that. But yeah, the general point of submarine escape suits, just in general, seems to be basically so you don't have to rush to the surface as quickly as possible. They're designed to keep you warm in very cold water and designed to, recycle, normally with a rebreather system. And don't rebreathers use that system as well, because you don't need a different oxygen mix in the like air tank? Because isn't that the same thing with deep sea diving, that a rebreather basically works at any depth because it's just recycling the air coming out of your mouth? Whereas if you've got an air tank, depending on the depth you're going to, it needs different mixes in the air tank. Because isn't that a thing that's got divers before, where they've not had the right mix in their air tank and then they get poisoned from going to the wrong depths or just can't breathe? But that's what I'd assume. I mean, deep sea horror is horrible to think about. Like cave diving, nope. Right, as far as I'm aware, WK, the Czech filters that you're on about, I believe, actually are safe in terms of internal components. However, if it's really old, even a filter that doesn't contain anything like asbestos, you don't want to be breathing through it, just because the chance of, leaking filter material gets higher the older a filter gets. Yeah, I don't know PRM82, but yeah, I'm assuming there's a lot of things that would probably work better with a good drug rather than, let's pressurize you or electrocute you. Cheers, Daniel, but yeah. So yeah, from what I'm aware, with your CM4 filter, assuming it's the proper filter for the CM4, it's probably safe in terms of it doesn't contain anything like asbestos from whenever I've seen people open them up, or, where people have submitted a few for labs to review now and again. But if it's not in good condition, don't breathe for it regardless. But anyway, I'm hoping that's sort of answered your question on the submarine escape suit. And again, I think lots of those submarine escape suit type suits are designed to keep you warm as well. Like they're big dry suit type things. Because I imagine they'd work as an NBC suit as well. Because if you've seen my underwater tank escape suit thing that B-Store sent me, that's like a very minimal rebreather setup. Because that was basically designed that if you had to bail out of a tank if it crashed into a lake. And again, that's not designed to keep you dry. That's just got a thing that helps you float to the surface because it inflates around your neck, and then it's got the rebreather system built into it. When you say replacement makes, you mean replacement filters? Any modern Chinese or Russian filter is your best bet. So if you look on my channel, Mr. Foger, the only thing I've got like that, other than the IP4 and the IP5, is let me just search across your channel, rebreather. If you look up on my channel, Polish ATE1 rebreather, that's the only thing like that I've ever demonstrated on a video. Because I've got an IP5 and I've got an IP4M, but I would only ever use them in a situation where I had no breathable air, because rebreathers can be really dodgy, especially surplus ones. But I'd imagine a submarine escape suit is essentially just a more sophisticated rebreather system. But yeah, I think Mr. Fager is literally that, but just designed to a much better standard, and for people that are genuinely going to be in deeper water, as opposed to, I need to quickly get to the surface to not suffocate, drown. Right. The PK56 vial I've got next to a load of my uranium rocks over there has only over the course of several months changed ever so slightly, to the point you can barely see the colour has changed with a camera. You can with your eye a bit. The one I've exposed to X-rays a lot of times has changed colour. So if you like, I will do an updated video at some point showing just how red that one's gone. Because what I generally do is, if I've got the X-ray out for doing stuff, I'll put that vial nearby just to get the colour to change a bit more. X-rays are way more efficient, by the way, if you want to get one of those vials to change colour than a bit of uranium ore. Strontium-90 works quite well as well if you surround the vial with it. What I really ought to do when I'm not doing X-rays, actually, is put that one back on my DP2 control source, because that's strong enough to actually change the colour over the period of weeks. So if I left it there for ages and forgot about it, it would actually go completely purple. See you, Craig. I'll be off in a minute. Right, Mr. Foger. Any NATO mask should take both GOST and NATO filters, because NATO female threads will take GOST male threads and NATO male threads, all right. The issue is using GOST female threads, as in using a GOST mask. So Polish MP5 is NATO threaded, therefore, yes, it should take both GOST and NATO filters fine. The issue is when you've got GOST masks, because then the NATO filters are the slightly wrong thread pitch thickness, and that's why they don't screw on properly. But in general, and again, just even with NATO masks, you'll find some masks don't like certain filters if they're just slightly the wrong size. But in general, my advice is always just get a NATO mask if you want one for anything serious, because you've got a much more better, filter availability. Anyway, I'll be off. Have a good evening, everybody, and I definitely won't be on Wednesday night because I'm seeing some relatives Wednesday. Assuming that my stomach doesn't get so bad I have to just stay at home, but I don't think so at this point. So Tuesday I should be on, probably doing a members stream or one of those New Vegas randomizer ones, maybe tomorrow. And I don't see why I wouldn't be on Thursday at least either. But Americinium, it depends on the quantity of it. Americinium is in smoke alarms. It's a very strong alpha emitter, but alpha doesn't penetrate glass, so you won't get to change a PK56 vial. But Americinium is normally a solid. It's you get it in an alloy when it's in smoke alarms. AM241 is the thing you're talking about, and it's the decay daughter of plutonium. But yes, that's Americinium. I've done videos on Americinium before. Right, anyway, have a good evening, everybody. I'm going to reheat this now because it's got cold. Right, see ya.